Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing a VCT Americas Kickoff Pick'ems and Predictions. So the kickoff tournament is right around the corner starting on Friday, so we're going to be going through the bracket, at least for the group stage, and then I'm going to make my predictions for the other two stages as well. I might update those once the results for the group stages are actually in, but for now we're just going to do the Pick'ems for the group stage and then talk about those. So we're going to be starting with Group A, which I think it shouldn't be too controversial that I'll be picking Energy over Furia. Energy, we don't really know how they're going to play, but we do know that they are stacked with talent. There is a chance that they struggle out the gate and they might not have the team cohesion because they haven't been together as a roster for that long, but I still think that overall they should be able to overcome that and beat a team like Furia, who really don't like they're going to be very competitive. But if a upset does happen, am I totally surprised? Honestly, no, at least not as much as some other people might end up being, mainly just because Fury has had more time to prepare. But I absolutely think that Energy should win in this match. Moving on to Cloud9 versus MIBR. I think Cloud9, yeah, for sure. And I'm trying not to just be biased towards the North American teams, but, you know, are you really going to try to argue with me that MIBR can beat Cloud9? I'm not even very high on Cloud9. If you watch my power rankings video, you'll see that I really don't think that team is great, but I also think that MIBR is the worst team in the entire Americas. You know, no shade to those players, no shade to that org. I just don't see the roster they've put together as something that can look particularly competitive. So going down to that elimination match, I do think Furia just barely squeaks it out. On paper, they do look better than MIBR overall. I do think MW0 should probably just carry this team through that match. So it should be a pretty easy win, but, you know, nothing really comes easy in Valorant, does it? So moving on to Energy versus Cloud9. Now, this is an interesting one because Cloud9 has been together for much longer than the Energy roster has so far. So Cloud9 has had more time to practice, but when it comes to just on paper talent v talent, I think Energy again has that in spades, and I do think that they're going to beat Cloud9. For Cloud9, when I look at the roster, I just kind of go, meh. I think there's some good pieces there, but I overall don't really see it as something that can beat a team with as much talent as Energy. But hey, they could prove me wrong, and Cloud9 can finally stop their choking ways and actually, you know, do something in a tournament. So that brings us to Cloud9 versus Furia, and after all that stuff I just said about Cloud9, yeah, I think they beat Furia, and I just don't see that team really being super good, and I do think that they lose against Cloud9, which means Energy goes onto the playoff stage and Cloud9 goes to the play-in. But before we get to that play-in, we have to go through the other groups, starting with the Group of Death. Group B, the group that has three teams that arguably could be the best team in the Americas coming out of this tournament. Starting off with Loud and Sentinels, this has to be the most anticipated match throughout the entire first part of the VCT Americas season. Sentinels has looked very good in the offseason. Loud haven't played in the offseason. They lost their best player, Aspas, to Leviathan. But at the same time, I think people are way too low on Loud. I have questions about Sentinels. You know, they've come in with high expectations before and have failed before. And I just, you know, obviously Sentinels have been prepping and they look like they're really ready to do a lot of damage. But I kind of see Loud getting the better on them, at least at the start. It would just feel weird to me, Loud not being good at the start of the season. They haven't played in the offseason, but that means that they've just been prepping and just waiting for the chance to strike. And I think since everybody's doubting them, they're coming in as underdogs, and that scares me. You know, underdog teams can go on some surprising runs. Look at Evil Geniuses last year, and if you take a team that is arguably a top 3 team in the world last year and start, you know, doubting them and start thinking that the expectations aren't very high for them, ooh, you might be in for it. I still think Loud is a very good team, and I do see them beating Sentinels out the gate. Moving on to Leviathan versus 100 Thieves. Now, this is an interesting one. So we have Leviathan, who have built this super team. They have Aspas, they have Calm, they have Tex, they have players that have very good resumes. They even did well in the offseason. I believe they only played in one tournament, but they did win that tournament and do very well. Not that that tournament was particularly against, you know, super high up teams, but, you know, Leviathan have definitely built something that they think can win a tournament. For 100 Thieves, mostly the same roster from last year, but you bring in EU and Boostio, so you have a new IGL who should give this team a completely new look. They didn't look great in the Ludwig and Tarek event, but Boostio had been on the team for like 4 days at that point. So can an upset happen? I absolutely think it can, and I don't know if Leviathan, especially with the roster drama that they've had with Nazwer being moved to the bench and then bringing in Calm, I think that might end up being a pretty bad decision. So honestly, it's gonna feel weird, But I do think 100 Thieves get the upset. One of the reasons why I'm picking 100 Thieves over Leviathan is the fact that we just have to accept that there's going to be upsets in this tournament. There are upsets in every tournament of any competitive sport that you will ever conceive. So it's going to happen in this tournament, and I think 100 Thieves, especially coming in with everybody downing them, I think that they can get the jump on Leviathan, who might not find that cohesion right away. I do think Leviathan is better than 100 Thieves, but I can also see 100 Thieves winning this match. So that brings us to an absolutely insane elimination match in Sentinels and Leviathan. Any of these teams losing this early will be seen as a huge failure, but also I think people will understand that they're in this group of death. Oh, this is a tough one. This is a really tough one. I'm going to go with Sentinels. I trust their structure and their potential compositions more than Leviathan. I think Leviathan with Aspes and Tex having two duelist players, I don't know if Tex is going to be as adaptable as you would want him to be. He has been playing Sentinel a bit in the offseason, but I don't know if we're going to see Leviathan running double duelist comps. That might hurt Tex's ability to, really thrive. And I do think Sentinels, after a loss to Lao, would definitely be extremely motivated to, finally, just look like a better team, look like the team that they were in the offseason. And I do think that they would be able to beat Leviathan, which moves us to Loud and 100 Thieves. And do I even really need to talk about this one? Loud wins that every time. Again, there will be upsets and whatnot, and Bustio is going to make this team better, but, Loud wins. I'm sorry. Loud's just better. And I just think that it's hard for me to see an upset happening in this case. Which brings us to 100 Thieves versus Sentinels. Who do I think is going to win that? Well, Sentinels tends to have 100 Thieves' number, so I'm picking them. They're a better team on paper. They're going to be motivated after losing to Loud, and I don't think 100 Thieves, I think 100 Thieves is going to have a respectable performance in this tournament, but them getting the draw that they did, yeah, I see them being one of the two teams that doesn't make it out. Which then brings us to Group C. So we had the group of death, and then we have this group that doesn't look like that at all. Crew versus G2 to start. I'm going to pick G2. I think Crew is better than what a lot of people think they are, but I definitely think that G2 is the better team. They're coming up from Ascension, having the drama of, losing their org and almost not playing it. I think they're really going to be motivated to prove themselves, and I think that means a victory for them right out the gate, and I do think they beat Crew. I do think it's closer than what a lot of people think it would be, but I do think they win that. Which moves on to G2 versus EG. I think G2 win this one pretty handedly. If Evil Geniuses does end up upsetting people and make it to Madrid, I honestly just won't be surprised, mainly just because, and I've said it in past videos, it just seems like it'd be too funny not to happen. If all the stuff that happened in the offseason with Evil Geniuses ends up them having a better placement than every other team and then potentially making it to Madrid, the waves that would cause in the Valorant community would be just hilarious, and I kind of hope it doesn't happen because I don't think the org deserves it. I think the players do, the org doesn't, but I think G2 is just going to be a better team. They're going to be more prepared, they're going to be more motivated. I think G2 wins that. Which then brings us to EG versus Crew, and I do think Crew wins this one. Again, if G2 upsets, not surprised because, crazy stuff happens, but I think Crew is better. I think Crew makes it to play-in. So then who makes it out of play-in and makes it to playoffs? I do think Sentinels definitely can win that. They can beat Cloud9, they can beat Crew. I think that they make it to the playoffs, which would mean they face Energy. So then the playoff stage would be G2 versus Loud and Energy versus Sentinels. And out of those four, I pick Energy and Loud. I just don't see a world where we see Loud not qualify for every international tournament this year. I know they lost Aspas, but they're still a very good team. They still have Sadek, they still have Les, they have a lot of great pieces. And Energy, I do have concerns with them maybe not being reaching their potential right out the gate, but I think if they can find their form, they're going to look dangerous, and I think that they have a pretty easy path bracket-wise. Them versus Sentinels in playoffs would just be an insane match, but I do think that they come out on top. So those are my pick'ems and predictions for the VCT Americas Kickoff Tournament. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think that my pick'ems are right? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please click like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.